I've spent the last several hours trying to get my thoughts together about the incident that happened at our nation's capital yesterday. I want to begin by extending my heartfelt prayers to those who lived through that traumatizing and horrifying experience, and to their families who watched in real time and feared for their safety. I also want to extend my gratitude to the men and women in law enforcement who did their best to quell an angry mob of domestic terrorists hell-bent on disrupting our nation's institutions. I also want to address the elephant that is in the room, that for so many people who were shocked and horrified by the images of people hanging from the walls, scaling walls, entering offices, and one of the most disturbing to me, a man walking the halls with a large Confederate flag in 2021. It is a shock to see the Confederate flag walking through the United States Capitol. But while it was shocking and these images disturbing, and as many have said, this is in America, I gotta be honest with you. As appalling as it wasn't surprising. As disgusting as it wasn't surprising. We've been here. I've seen this. I would say that it is almost a privilege to be shocked by what we saw yesterday. Shocked that in the United States there are those who cling to white supremacy so strongly and so fervently that they would engage in the exercise that they did. I'm not shocked because even here in Chicago, I've seen it firsthand. On April 1st, 2019, 4 white nationalist groups gathered with members of an organization I had never heard of at the time called QAnon to attend a march that was organized by the head of the Fraternal Order of Police, that was attended by the current head of the Fraternal Order of Police. And at that event, with members of the Proud Boys and others, racist rhetoric, horrifying things that were said, not just about me, but about Laquan McDonald, about the movement for Black lives, was a shock to the system. I know firsthand what that hate looked like. I didn't know who QAnon was then. I see the pictures now of John Catanzara posing with them. I was unfamiliar with the Proud Boys until the Sun-Times ran an article about their hateful ways. I couldn't for the life of me understand why white nationalist groups would feel comfortable in the company of those who were protesting a decision by my office. But I saw firsthand here in Cook County, in Chicago, what was possible when those who believe that their institutions are occupied by those who they don't think belong rise up and stand together. This is America. And while we don't ever anticipate the degree to which we see those to hold so strongly to the times of past, that they would be allowed to walk into our institutions unfettered, wreak havoc, and then walk out untouched. This is as someone who watched the horrifying incidents over this past summer, that so many people want to talk about the destruction of buildings and property. But I also watched thousands of peaceful protesters, many of whom found themselves subject to arrest for peaceful protests. I saw a young woman have her teeth knocked out protesting the taking down of a statue. I watched a man yesterday bragging about taking mail from the Speaker of the House, and nothing. This is America. We will, over the course of the next several days, weeks, months, ask ourselves what happened yesterday. How was it that so many people were allowed to infiltrate our institutions for the purposes of a coup to protect a man who has been unapologetic, unashamed, and unabashed in his white supremacy and nationalism? We will ask ourselves, as we should, what is it about yesterday that was markedly different than when we addressed the issues of civil unrest related to the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd? We will ask ourselves, and I hope have an honest conversation about what happens when those in leadership turn a blind eye to what is clearly hateful rhetoric matched by an agenda. I saw the words of John Catanzara, the head of the FOP, today, in defense of what happened at our nation's capital, who indicated that these were frustrated people who, in his eyes, had committed no crimes. The same John Catanzara who stood in front of my office 2 years ago with the Proud Boys from QAnon. Our criminal justice system relies upon the legitimacy and credibility of all of our actors, police, prosecutors, judges. It relies upon us telling the truth, even when they are ugly, about the racial biases and injustices that have infiltrated it for years. It requires us that even in moments like this, that we do the hard work and not turn away from the ugliness that we saw. The truth is, I was appalled. Sadly, I wasn't surprised.